And we are live. Okay. So I'm going to do something a little bit different this time. I'm not going to kick it off with the typical introduction that we typically do. And that's only because I was looking at the podcast, Joe, and I realized that we haven't released an episode since May.
Whew, it's a while.
It's a long time, right?
Yeah.
Now, I know you and I recorded an episode perhaps maybe what, 2 months ago?
Somewhere along that lines, yeah.
And I personally think it was one of the better episodes that I've ever recorded with someone on the Maybe You Should Talk podcast, and it never got released.
No.
Yeah.
Didn't get released.
So the reason why is because after we were done recording, I went to go start downloading some clips that we could share on our social media page. And I came to realize that your voice never got recorded.
It was just too beautiful for the microphone. The internet couldn't handle the beauty of this voice.
Yeah, man, it was very disappointing. And so I'm watching this video and I'm like, okay, maybe his audio hasn't uploaded yet and it's just gonna take a day, no problem. I think I sent you a text and said, hey Joe, just make sure you click on this link. It should finish uploading your audio. And then I think when you tried to do it, what did you get?
I got nothing. I got not a thing. It's just nothing.
Yeah. So I started cursing out the software that we use, and we use Riverside. Overall good service, right? And I was cursing them out, and I was like, you know what, this fucking software, all this bullshit, yada, 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 right? And then I came to the realization, Joseph, and that was today, that it wasn't software error, it was user error.
I'm assuming we're going with this guy.
No. No. The white man actually did not do anything wrong for a change.
Wow.
No, it was actually the Spanish guy at this point. So when I had sent the invite for you to participate in that meeting, or call rather, I realized that I set you up as a producer and not a guest. And when I was setting this up today to kind of talk about all this, I actually took the time to read what producer actually meant. And it does highlight that you're behind the scenes. Whatever you say does not get recorded. So I fucked up.
Listen, typical alpha male kind of thing there. We don't read instructions. We don't take directions. Fuck that. Click buttons.
Yeah.
That's how we get through life.
You know what's crazy about that? And before we kind of revisit the topic that we spoke about on the last episode that never got released because of the audio issues, I think that's a common thing amongst men, right? Like, I feel like if I go to a store and I can't find something, it'll be fucking hell would have to freeze over before I stop and ask, one of the store representatives, hey, do you know where this is? Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I'm not doing that. If I can't find something, the store obviously doesn't sell it. That's just what it is. I don't give a shit if it's their brand. They're out of stock. They don't sell it. Discontinued. I don't know. It's because of Somali pirates fucking took over the container ships. It didn't get here. Whatever it is, it's just they don't have it. It can't be that I didn't find it. It's not possible.
And it's funny too, right? Because, Alex would be like, why don't you just ask someone for fucking help? And I was like, no. Refuse. Is Caroline the same way? Does she say, Joe, why don't you just ask somebody?
I think typically a lot of times she'll just go and ask somebody because I think it's the understanding is I'm probably not going to do it. Same thing. It's not just that. It's anytime I have to return something, I will buy shit and keep it and never use it, throw it out, donate it, sit in a closet. I'm not returning shit. I'm not going to the store. I'm not putting that effort in. Even Amazon, I'm not putting it in a box and going to like the post office or FedEx. Shit's not happening. No way.
Really?
I fucked up or they fucked up. Man, I live with this now. That's what it is.
No, see, that's actually something I do. Like if I get something from Amazon and like it's not the right size, I do return it. And it's only because I was introduced to that process. So I only do it because Alex does it and she showed me the way. I
That was
now
going to
know
be
what
my
I
next
must do.
question. Yeah,
Yes.
that was going to be my next question is who showed you this? Was it another man? And if so, don't trust him.
No, it was my partner in crime, my
Yeah.
better half, and that's only the reason why I started doing it. I'm like, holy shit, I could fucking
Yeah.
do this too.
So it's funny you say that because Carolina even will go as far as if we got to buy clothes or something, she doesn't love shopping in stores and especially the mall, not a fan. So when we went on a trip a couple of years ago, I needed to get clothing for an event we were going to. So it was like a Cuban white party. So she ordered me a bunch of shirts, different sizes, different styles. I'm like, man, I wouldn't be able to do this. She ordered probably 6 or 7 shirts. We kept 2. She sent the rest back. I would have been like, no, I spent $200 now on shirts I'm never going to wear. That's just what it is. There's no way I'm ordering a bunch of stuff, trying it on, sending it back. That's too much. That's way too much for me.
And listen, I'm not trying to dry snitch here or anything like that, but Alex is a big proponent on getting stuff from Amazon, wearing it once or twice maybe, and then returning it. I'm not mad at it, man. Can't knock the hustle, right? If it works, it works.
You just killed any future sponsorships we were going to have from Amazon. Thanks. I appreciate that. Way to go, Alex.
No,
Way to go.
Listen, for what it's worth, though, man, Amazon racks in so much fucking money that's like fucking chump change to them, right?
Yeah, right.
I think it's the cost of doing business at that point.
Some might even say those clothes are worth more money because someone tried them on and broke them in a little bit,
Hey, man.
Yeah.
There's a
Do you
market
wash
for
them
those
before
kind
you
of
send them
things.
back or are you just sending them straight back?
I guess it depends on who's buying, right?
Well, I wasn't even going there. No, wait. So now I got questions. This leads to follow-up. So, like, what do you do with the tag? Is she, like, tucking the tag in so nobody sees it? Or are you just like, fuck it, cut it off. Amazon will take back anything.
I'm a simple man. I don't think I ever like asked the follow-up questions. I think that's one of my downfalls, right? Like it's the equivalent of when we were at work and some guy had asked me if I was Mormon. Don't know why. Don't know what fucking thing about me gave off Mormon vibes. And unfortunately, there was no follow-up question. And that's one regret I have in life.
Now you got to ask follow-up questions. Especially in a situation like that, you need to know the thought process. Where the fuck was this guy coming from that he thought you were a Mormon? Did he see like a picture of you and your family and think, "Oh, that must be his 6 brides"? Like, what make you think that you're a Mormon?
Bro, I'll never know.
I don't know.
I'll never know. It's like how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? The world would never
It's
know.
different because somebody asked that question. People wanted to know.
Yeah, and the sad thing about it, right, is that this guy no longer works there. I can't go back now, a year later, and be like, hey, remember when you asked me this question? Why? It's too late. I fucked up. I didn't ask the follow-up questions. And for what it's worth, I feel like I fucked up that guy's entire conversation that he had lined up.
You might have. The best you could do now is take it to social media and ask the followers, what makes you think that Jonathan might be a Mormon? Maybe you'll get an answer out of it.
Valid. I don't know. Like, was it the way I was sitting? I don't think I had a fucking. I don't know. I really don't know. But to that point, though, Alex was like, "You didn't ask him any follow-up questions." I was like, "Nah." I kind of just was like, "No," and then I moved on with my day.
I feel like you try to disengage from awkward situations like that. Like it's just like I need to get out of this now. No, man, I want to live in that moment. I want to know what's going on.
I should have dove deeper into the follow-ups, but I didn't. But I didn't.
So for the record, are you now or have you ever been a Mormon?
No. They've come by my house plenty of times.
Is that Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses?
Isn't it the same shit?
Close enough. Either way, I'm not answering the door. Fuck it. Yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah, right.
But anyways, Joe, I know we kind of sidetracked here and stuff like that, and I'm going to revert back to the topic of the day, right?
Yeah.
Or the theme of the day here, right? So I think a lot of the listeners by now know what I do for a living. I work in HR, and me and Joe are coworkers there. Excuse me. And for the record too, before we get into this, this is just my personal opinion. Okay, these are just Joe's personal opinions. This does not reflect our company's perspective on things. And for the record, this is independent. We are not related to our company when we are doing this show. So please do not try to get us fired or get us canceled because our livelihoods depend on this. Joe's trying to buy a house.
I don't want to have to turn Mormon. Yeah. I don't want to be going door to door.
So, probably, what was that? Maybe a month ago, we went to an HR summit in Connecticut. And we all got together. And one of the things that we were going to do, or that we did rather, is what's called a privilege walk. So,
why don't you explain to the listeners what a privilege walk is?
Yes. Oh, happily. And so a privilege walk is basically this. You and a group of people line up, you're blindfolded, and there's someone that's asking you questions. And if you coincide with that question, you agree to what the person is asking you, you either take a step forward or a step back, or you stay in place. The purpose of this, at the end of everything, is to see who's more privileged and who's not. And so let me paint the room here for you, Joseph, so that you understand why I was kind of pissed off about the results. So I am Spanish, obviously Colombian, right? And we recently just lost the Copa to Argentina, but that's a conversation for another day.
May have delayed that game by 85 minutes, something like that, because of your supporters. But they weren't necessarily Colombians, but they were wearing Colombian jerseys.
We don't know. We don't know. We could assume, but we don't know.
They might just be allies of the Colombian soccer team.
Yes. So I'm Colombian, and with me were 4 other white women born in the USA. I was born in Colombia, came here when I was 3. And there was also a black woman and an Asian. It sounds like the start of a joke, but it's not.
Did you guys screw in a light bulb after you were done? And how many of these did you take to do it?
And so this isn't about race, right? But I know the shit that I've had to go through growing up. And I know some of the other shit that other people have had to gone through in my workplace, or in my work team, rather. So I was a little bit surprised, Joe, by the results. And so before I get to the results, though, right, these were some of the questions that were asked. So this is stepping forward. Take a step forward if one or both of your parents graduated from college.
Does that really show privilege? Does that show that your parents went to college, Did it have to be here? Could it have been in another country?
I think it's just like in general.
Okay, fair enough.
In general, right? I guess the thought process is if both of your parents went to college, then in theory they should both have white-collar jobs, which means that they're higher earners.
Yeah, I would have fucked this whole thing up. I've been asking way too many follow-up questions.
Which is another, you know what, Joe? Before I get to the next question, this is another thing that I had, right? Another issue that I had with this fucking privilege walk, right? There's no specification as to how big of a step do you take forward or how big of a fucking step do you take back, right? I think my steps were reserved. I think they were appropriate, okay? I didn't fucking take a step back like I was trying to stretch my fucking hamstring, all right? I was very modest in my steps, okay? I don't know if the other people were doing that.
I feel like you got a lot of varied people in size on that team. You got a couple of short people. You got some tall people. Those tall people are taking that longer stride, potentially. So now on top of that, see, this just, we've talked about this in the past, but now this just hit me right now. Do you think those individuals that were taking those small steps, do you think they were pulling punches so that they could try to show how underprivileged they really are, like a badge of honor?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, and that's because I feel like America loves the underdog story. The rags to riches story always gets people, right? What do people usually say about successful entrepreneurs? He started from the bottom. He had nothing. He was living on the streets, man, and look at
Yeah.
him now. He's a millionaire. People don't really respect the people that were born with the silver spoon in their mouth.
Yeah, you got to overcome adversity to be, a real hero. Yeah, I
Yeah,
got you.
right. Like I mean, like Joe. Like I mean, maybe it's just the things that we've been kind of indoctrined to believe and stuff like that. But do you respect the guy who was born in a fucking mansion, whose father, runs a hedge funds, who was a millionaire by nature, or do you respect the guy who had nothing, worked at 7-Eleven, grinded his ass off, and is a fucking doctor saving lives?
So honestly, I respect the guy that doesn't talk shit about it. I respect the guy that doesn't tell
Fair.
me how his daddy gave him everything, but I also respect the guy that overcame whatever he overcame and doesn't use it like you should be, you should respect me more because I had to come from here and I had to deal with this. Everybody's got their own personal struggle, whatever it is. There's just different problems for the rich kid with the silver spoon versus the guy who grew up, in a 5 kids in a, 2-bedroom apartment. I'm not saying they're equal, but to them mentally, who knows? Maybe they do feel like, oh, I had to deal with all this other bullshit. They've never lived the other side of it, so they don't know what's better or what's worse. It's all about perspective.
It is.
But fuck
It's
that guy
very
who had
much.
lots of money. But yeah.
It's very much about perspective, right? So diving back into these questions, right? And I guess that first question, Joe, would you have taken a step forward if one or both of your parents graduated from college?
Neither of my parents graduated college.
Okay. So you would have stayed in place in this
Stay in
case.
place.
You would have stayed in place. Okay.
Or if I was really trying to be an asshole, maybe like shuffle back just like a half a step. Everybody's blindfolded. They can't see. Fuck them. Right? Was anybody moderating this? Was somebody like, hey, not big enough step? Or, really, are you sure? Maybe you should take a step forward.
They were moderating it, but not to the extent that they should have, Joseph. Okay?
Yeah.
My personal opinion. All right? They were just asking the questions, but not really gauging, hey, Samantha, too far of a fucking step back. All right?
Yeah, fair
Let's
enough.
keep it modest.
Yeah.
All right?
Also
They
on
weren't
top of
doing
that,
that.
like you're going off the honor system. Nobody really knows what everybody else went through.
Correct.
I don't like this. I don't like this one bit.
Correct. So, step forward, right? Now, we're going to take a step back, right? So, the further you're back, the more underprivileged you are. So, this is one of the questions, actually. I legit just pulled up the same one that they were asking us. Take a step back if you started school speaking a language other than English.
So I would not take a step back for that.
You'd be in place. You would
But
remain in
again,
place.
So knowing your team, person like you, let's think about this. So other than you telling the story of, or just mention the fact that like, hey, I came here when I was 3. What if you came here when you were 25? Yes, you started school speaking a language other than English in a country, in a school that doesn't speak English. Does that make you privileged or underprivileged? If your degree and you have a doctorate or master's from Columbia, you don't need to speak English. If you started school speaking English, you would have been disadvantaged. So you know what? Throwing that question out the window. Fuck that shit. There was not a lot of thought put into this by the organizer of this event.
Agreed. And to your point, it's all about perspective, right? And I think that's the issue with these sort of things is that a lot of these questions aren't specific as far as, okay, are you referring to now or are you referring to when I was growing up? It's very broad, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to go back now. So take a step forward if you were told by your parents that you were beautiful, smart, or successful.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. Yeah, I don't think so. I am 42 years old. My father hasn't told me happy birthday in at least 22 years.
Oh shit! You know why? Because we grew up in that culture where or in that time rather where there were no participation trophies.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I remember one time it was my birthday and my mom looks at my dad and goes, "Oh my God, it's your son's birthday. You're not going to say happy birthday?" My father's response was, "And?"
He had a birthday last year.
Yeah. Unfazed by it.
Yeah.
So
builds character.
Yeah. I mean, clearly it does. So you would not be taking a step forward in this case, right?
I can't remember a time of them being like, "Oh, you're so beautiful." I was a chubby little fat kid. Like I wasn't getting that you're beautiful. That shit wasn't happening. And if it was bullshit. So like I'm not getting that.
All right. This is taking a step back. So take a step back if you ever been hesitant to speak to avoid being ridiculed because of your accent or speech impediment. See that one for me, right? It depends. You know, sometimes I fuck up words
So
and you guys roast me.
that's a great point because we do.
Yes.
But by that same token, like I wouldn't take a step back in this scenario because I feel like it doesn't apply. But we left the country twice. You know, Carolina and I into, you know, we went to Dominican Republic and went to Colombia. And even the very little bit of Spanish I knew, I'm hesitant. I don't want to say it because I sound like, you know, the dumbass guy who can't pronounce things right or gets the words wrong. And honestly, I can't take I can't take the response and understand it anyway. So like, what am I going to do with that? You know? So yeah, I've been hesitant to speak in front of other people, but that has nothing to do with privilege.
You know what's funny about that? I feel like you go into these conversations with Spanish speaking locals when you're on vacation, knowing probably one or two phrases, and you say these phrases, I think, with the intention of, I respect your culture. And then the funny thing is when they start talking back to you in Spanish and you go, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
I don't know
really.
what you're saying.
Yeah. Oh no. Like I feel like if I don't know the language well enough to speak it without butchering the fuck out of it, I don't even want to start because I feel like that's almost disrespectful, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, you know what, man? For what it's worth, I think a lot of these people just appreciate the intent, right? The effort, the fact that you tried, you know. And I think that sometimes people
Sure.
test you.
So I look at it more of a if I walked into a high school right now as a teacher, I'm not going to start talking this weird, you know, lingo that the kids talk now. You look like a douchebag. Like if you had a teacher who tried to talk to you in your, you know, just whatever slang you and your friends would use, you're like, look at this fucking clown. I feel the same way if I tried to speak Spanish in front of, you know, native speakers who are like, fuck this guy. He's a clown. He doesn't know shit. Why is he trying to do this? What are you trying to show like you're, you know, oh, he knows 4 words. He could say good morning. No.
I guess that's fair because I remember one time I went to a dermatologist and I don't know what the fuck kind of vibe I gave off. I was a lot younger back then, but the dermatologist walks in all cool and shit, and then fucking like daps me up, like you know, and
Did
then
it take 3 years of practice before he got it?
You're an asshole. But what fucking got me mad was that like he dapped me up and then like he snapped his finger at the end.
Did he
Like
give you a little?
And I was like, what the fuck about me made you think that was cool? That I was gonna be like, hell yeah, this guy's so hip. No, man, be my
That's what I'm
fucking
saying.
doctor.
Yeah, like you feel like no, don't do that. When I go to a doctor, I want that guy to be or girl, whatever it is. I want them to be incredibly dry. I want them to be incredibly blunt, like zero sense of humor. I don't want them to be like, "Oh man, you got a tumor." Really? Nah, I gotcha. Yeah, you're just fucking fat. You know, it's a little fatty thing. Like, no, I don't want that. You need to be professional as fuck. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
Like, I think some of that comes with the role and title and how you perceive people. You know what they're supposed to be. I ain't got time for that in a
Agreed,
medical.
man.
Like, if I go to a lawyer and he daps me up, I'm getting a new fucking lawyer. You know, I don't want that.
Yeah, call me old school, man.
Yeah.
But like, I just feel like, you know, like just shake my fucking hand, bro. Like, I didn't just buy weed off you. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck?
No, you got a prescription for it.
Yeah. Oh my god. But anyways, so there were a bunch of more fucking questions that they asked, right? And I've never been so fucking angry in my life, Joe.
So tell the people where in what place did you end up? Like where were you in relation to everyone else in the pack?
There was probably, let me just think real quick how many people there were. Um, let's just say there were 8 people. There were 8 people. I was number 4.
Middle of the pack.
Number fucking 4.
Look
And
at
listen,
you being all average. Good for you.
and listen, like, I want to explain. I want to understand this rather, right? Like, I really want to know, because I'll never forget. I took my blindfold off, and for the record, I felt like I didn't fucking move. It was like I was in the same spot that I started in, and then what got me was when I looked ahead, I could see 3 other people that were ahead of me. And I was like, you know what? That fucking makes sense. One of the guys, for the record, we kind of started off in the street, was by the entrance of the building. So this motherfucker was super privileged, right? But I respect that. You know, he owned it. Cool. Not mad at it, right? Some people are just handed better cars than others. Respect. Cool. And there were 2 other people that I said, okay, I could see that. But then Joseph, I turn around and I see people that were underprivileged. Under fucking privileged, Joe.
Yeah.
How the fuck does that make sense, Joe? And let me explain, because I know these people, right? And one of them, amazing person, wonderful soul. But parents paid for college, parents paid for the first car, parents paid for, or rather are going to help pay for the down payment for her first home, lives at home, doesn't have to pay rent, doesn't have to help with anything. How the fuck? How the fuck, Joe? Make it make sense.
All right. So again, it's about perspective. So in her eyes, her parents were incredibly privileged. They got all this money. They got this and that. She wasn't even able to do that on her own. She needed help from her parents to get this done. She wouldn't have got that BMW or that Volvo or that Audi if they didn't give it to her secondhand. And she didn't even get a new one. When she turned 17, do you think her parents bought her a new car? No. She got certified pre-owned. All right. And you know how rough that is in the circle that you run with? Because if your parents got money like that, I'm thinking in my head, I'm making the backstory up, but I'm thinking private school, private high school, this, that, and the other, a lot of money, a lot of this, a lot of that. And now she's showing up to school in a fucking used BMW. Come on. I mean, that's like social suicide. Have you ever had to live through that? I don't think you have. I don't think you know how underprivileged she felt in those moments.
Joe, that was utter bullshit. It was just complete, utter bullshit. And listen,
it is, but I think you get what I'm saying. Like,
no,
does she really know anybody that's underprivileged? Does she know anybody who had to live through that life? Does she know any of the struggles they went through? Even if she didn't go through them, can she even fathom what it was like growing up and having to, not enough food for everybody in the house, or having to share a bedroom with a brother and a sister, or 3 people in one bedroom, or having to sleep on a floor, on a mattress on the floor? Like, she probably couldn't even fathom doing that. So it's like, bro, in her world, maybe she feels that she's underprivileged in her privileged world.
You know what's crazy, right? So like, one of the questions too, and listen, not trying to sound sexist, because this isn't about that. It's not about men having more difficult than women or vice versa. But one of the questions was, take a step back. If you don't feel comfortable walking around or running around in your neighborhood. And one of them responded, because we reflected after this, right? We went into a room and we talked about this. And some people were crying because I guess they had to relive the traumatic fact that they got the fucking Beamer over the fucking Audi, right? But neither here nor there, right? But she had said, well, and not her specifically, but somebody else had said, well, I don't live in a bad area, but as a woman, I do not feel comfortable walking around or running around in my neighborhood. And I was like, but that's not the fucking question.
No. You're twisting it to
yes.
So it's street cred. She's twisting that. I feel at least that she's twisting that so that she can be less privileged, to show how relatable she is to the people that maybe really are underprivileged. Because like you said, everybody wants the underdog, right? So it's like, think about you. Like, you felt pissed off that these people who you feel are way more privileged than you, and probably just legitimately are way more privileged than you, as you're drinking a $7 bottle of water.
Shout out to Fiji.
Yeah. Oh man, you downgraded from Evian? What happened? Do we lose a sponsorship?
Nah, it's just, you know what it is. So for the people that can't see this right now and they're listening to the podcast, it's a 1.5 liter bottle of Fiji, and I usually drink Evian, but the Evian bottle is so fucking big that it just takes up so much space in the fridge. So my better half said, you need something that's a little bit more reasonable for the fridge. So I downgraded, and it's been
Yeah.
cheaper, so that's why.
Sure. I mean, like that alone shows me that, I mean, you should have been in the back of the pack, drinking Evian water every day. Nobody's less privileged than you. But again,
But
no, I get what you're saying. But yeah, I feel like just to get back to it, that some people might be using that as to maybe within that team to try to feel more relatable to one, either the staff that works with them or for them, or that they support from that HR side of things, or maybe even within their own team. Like, how relatable is it to a staff of, whatever it is? Like when you talk about a high level HR position or a high level manager position, and then your line level people, a lot of times there is a difference in lifestyle, a difference in culture, a difference in privilege. So do you think maybe they're trying to use that to show that they're relatable to the people that they work with, to be more approachable? Or do you think it's just straight up, I wanted to be the least privileged so I could talk shit and everybody feel bad for me?
I think it's a combination of both, man. And I'll tell you why. Because when I took off the blindfold and I turned around and I saw this girl, she looked at me like, yeah, I had it rough. Oh, that got me so fucking mad, Joe. Oh, I was so fucking mad. And it's like, it's like, are you fucking kidding me? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you fucking
Yeah.
kidding me?
So I feel like we're in the wrong business. I feel like maybe you should get into the business of making privilege walk questions, because I feel like we could come up with some much better questions than that would really show how privileged you are. Like, Jonathan, have you ever had to buy fast food with change because you didn't have enough money?
Yeah.
Take a step back.
Yeah. And listen, like I wasn't, this isn't like a thing about me, like, oh, like I lived a really hard life. Cause I didn't, right? Like, I mean, there were some things that were challenging. Yeah. Like I grew up in a 1 bedroom apartment. I shared a bed with my brothers. I didn't have my own room until, I went to college, right? And that was pretty much taking out loans and shit like that. It's not like, my parents said, no, you need to go to college because, it's going to be good for you. No, I did it because I realized I didn't want to work a fucking blue collar job for the rest of my life. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I just personally didn't want to be busted my ass doing a labor intensive job until I was like 67. So,
Soft hands. I
so
got you. Yeah.
yes. So it's not, I'm not mad at the fact that I was middle of the pack. I was more mad at the fact that people were fucking lying. Like you're
Yeah, I feel like you get a lot of
lying.
stories, a lot of twisting of the truths there. Yeah.
Yeah, like what the fuck? Like, first of all, I was not born here. So by fucking default, by default, I feel like
Yeah.
you start off fucking 4 steps back.
Yeah. I mean, unless your family was like super rich over in Colombia, like if you guys had
Fair.
like money and privilege and everything, and they're like, you know what? Nah, we wanna raise our kids in America for whatever reason, and you left this beautiful, mansion in Colombia to come over here. Nah.
Yeah, man. So yeah, needless to say, man, yeah, fuck the privilege walk. I
Fuck the
think it's
privilege walk.
fucking stupid. I don't think it shows anything, only because unfortunately, man, like there's probably merit to it if people are honest and transparent about what they actually lived. But we live in a society now, man, where everything's all about social media and fucking TikTok, right? It was like when the whole, Black Lives Matter movement started and you had a bunch of white people putting the fist on their face and shit like that. Like what?
The blacked out profile picture and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, it's like,
Like what the fuck?
yeah. I mean, it's you never gave a shit until it was popular, or you're
Exactly.
never vocal about giving a shit till it was popular. Yeah.
Exactly. So
So do you think that this exercise had the opposite effect of what they wanted to be? So just in your eyes, or just in general too. So what I'm gathering from this, and tell me if this is a fair statement or not, is that you walked away from this respecting some of your peers a little bit less. Right?
Yes.
Some a little bit more, but some a little bit less. So do you think that was the general
Yes.
consensus, or do you think that some of them were bonding over their trauma and underprivilege that they had growing up?
Oh, some of them definitely were. I was just fucking mad that entire meeting. I did not want to reflect. They were looking at me for answers. I was like, I'm good. I have nothing to say.
No blah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. There were some people there that I know personally lived a really hard life, and they were, they were basically all the way in the fucking back. And okay, I understand it, right? Like, I know the history. That makes sense to me. But some of these fucking people, Joe, you're lying.
Yeah. Or delusional. It's one or the other. You're lying or you're delusional. Yeah. You just don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah. So again, I hope I never have to do another fucking privilege walk again in my life.
I'm all about it. I say we get the friend group together. We do the privilege walk. We throw some money on the line, something.
No, because we have a couple fucking characters in our group that
somebody's gonna get. Yeah, this is gonna end a friendship.
I don't want to say names, but some people, think that they have a harder life than what they really do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and I think you can spin it. Like, I think all of us, you said yourself, you have some underprivileged things, but, as an adult, you grew up, you made a, pretty good man of yourself. You make decent money. You got a nice place to live. You drive a new car. You got, nice clothes. Like you're doing all right. You drink Evian water and Fiji water. You're doing okay. You know what I'm saying? So like at this point now, does it even matter? But I think, I don't know, man. I feel like you've got some stories from your past. Everybody's got some stories. I would in no means consider myself underprivileged whatsoever. But I mean, I've got some stories of shit that happened to me that you'd be like, damn, that guy had it rough. But that's not my overall life. That's just one thing that happened. You're asking about one specific scenario. Did your parents graduate college? Who gives a shit? They don't have to. For all I know, your dad could have owned a chain of convenience stores and never went there, or a chain of gas stations or garages, and he could be making millions, and you lived a great life, but he didn't go to college. That doesn't mean shit. That doesn't mean he couldn't provide for you, or you could have still had it great.
Agreed. And listen, again, I know I'm shitting on this, and I'm cursing a lot, and I apologize if anyone has kids in the car, and
Fuck
you're listening to
kids.
this. Jesus Christ. There goes our Disney sponsorship.
Yeah.
No, but
Amazon, take us back.
No, but I just think that like if anyone's going to do a privilege walk, I just think that it has to be really specific. It has to be moderated really well, because one of these questions too is like, take a step back. If you walked into a store and people felt uncomfortable by your presence, okay, are we talking about now? Because no, right? It's not about now. Are we talking about when I was younger? Maybe. And a lot of that had to do with the way I dressed when I was younger, right? The baggy clothes, the fucking baggy jeans. You go anywhere looking like that, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, this guy looks fucking fishy."
Forget that. Just the way you and I dress normally, and I think you dress a little better than I do. You got some, you got a little style. You got some nice clothes. You always got nice sneakers. You know what you're doing. If you and I walk into a Rolex store, there's not a salesperson coming up to us because neither one of us are buying a fucking Rolex.
I don't know about that, man. Nah, you give off that. You know what kind of vibe you give off?
I give off that Kohl's collar is what I give off.
No. You give off the vibe of an extremely wealthy man who wants to give off the vibe that they're broke.
See, I have been told retired firefighter. I have been told undercover cop. I've never been told I give off a wealthy man who wants to look like he doesn't have money. That just tells me, bro, you look like you don't have money.
No, you're incredibly rich. You just want to be one with the common folk.
Yeah.
You want to blend in.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Listen, maybe this is the backstory. You got robbed.
Yeah, right. Yeah, shit happens. Yeah.
Your fucking Ferrari got stolen. Like, there's a backstory there,
yeah. Yeah, I went to the Ferrari dealership and all they had was this 2015 Kia that I bought. They were out of everything else. I didn't know. Yeah. You're out of the LaFerrari? Fine. Just give me the Sorrento. I'll take that.
But yeah, man. So that's kind of more or less my fucking privilege walk story. And yeah, man, I just think that again, it's just one of those things that if you're gonna do it, it has to be done correctly. And I hope I never have to do one of those things again.
Yeah, I think that might go with your territory, though. Unfortunately, you rose out of the ashes and overcame adversity and got into this world of human resources where it is predominantly run by people who want to do shit like this.
Yeah, it's like my line of work, man, is definitely it's challenging from the perspective that there's a lot of shit I have to do that I don't want to do. But I guess that's everybody,
Fair
right?
enough. Yeah. So I
You
feel
know?
like your team building activities are heartwarming and meant to make each other think. We just go out drinking.
Yeah, sometimes fuck it. I wish it was more of that shit,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Like it's
Yeah, get him
it's
drunk
just
and hear the real stories.
yeah, man. Yeah. But and listen, obviously, you know, we haven't also, you know, since we haven't dropped anything, a lot has happened and you know, for time purposes, I think we're gonna save some of this stuff for our next episode because a lot has happened, right? You went on vacation,
As did
I went on
you.
vacation, right? I got COVID again. That was fun.
I got
We
the Dominican Republic decided to make everything just shoot out of every orifice of my body for a few days, about 5 days. So that happened. I mean, not that this is a competition. I'm not taking a step back with your COVID. I mean, you get a big step, I got a half step. I mean, diarrhea and COVID, it's two different things, but I get it. But I'm just saying I had adversity too. Okay.
you did.
I had a
You
sour
did.
tummy. My tummy didn't
You
feel
did.
good while while you had COVID.
You we also went to the food truck festival, which was fun.
We did. So I do have to point this out because I'm sure no one notices that's watching this, but I had to go through a really tough experience for me. I had to, and the timing was horrible. So I had to go for a stress test, which means I had to shave the front portion of my body. So now I'm going on vacation with my family in a couple of weeks, and it's summertime, it's beach season. I went to the beach on Sunday, and I had to walk around looking like a hairless fat baby. So that was real fun. That was real fun. So yeah, thanks a lot for that one. But
and we also have to talk about your sets
yeah,
workout, the tribe. Is it called the tribe? Is
it
that
is.
what
I believe it's called the Tribe Fitness Challenge, is what they call it. So, but
okay.
yeah, I'm trying to convince my partner over here to either run it with me or run it against me, so that we can go for time. So for maybe a combine part two. So we'll see. I think you should put that one up to the listeners and see how it goes. We'll let it run for a couple
Ooh.
days and see where it goes.
We'll definitely do that. I mean, I definitely think that we have to do a Miss Combine Part Two, and I think we could definitely reach out to our good friends at Sets and maybe do a collaboration.
Absolutely.
The tribe sounds fucking terrible, to be honest with you, and God
Wasn't
bless your
great. I'm
soul.
not gonna lie to you. It wasn't great.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
All right, let's rethink that. We'll table
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, maybe we do something where we go to Sets. We'll go to your home turf. We'll go to the one in East Brunswick, and maybe we'll do something where I don't know. They'll do like 5 exercises, and the person that completes it the fastest wins the challenge.
I'm down. We could do something.
Yeah, I feel like that might be more fair because I feel like you've done it for so long now that I feel like you're gonna fucking smoke me.
I don't know, man. I feel like after watching the results of Combine Part One and seeing just how you are and how you trained and what you did, and I feel like you didn't go in there training incredibly heavily, and you just knocked it out of the park.
Thank you,
And
man.
you did good. So I mean, don't sleep on the underdog over here.
Yeah, but I mean, I almost tore my fucking calf in the first
I mean,
one. So.
the body is a temple. Make a sacrifice, man.
Hey, man, we'll see, but we'll definitely do a poll. People, apologies for being out of the game for so long. We're still here, and we're still going to continue to crank out some more episodes. So just bear with us through the technical difficulties and everything else. But Joe, my brother, my friend, thank you as always for participating.
Love being here.
Any last thoughts for the people, Joe?
I would say avoid privilege walks at all costs, 100%. And if anyone ever asks you to, especially a friend of yours or someone you thought is a friend of yours, asks you to run a fitness challenge with them, tell them to fuck off, because they don't have your best interests in mind. That's all I got.
And on that note, people, until next time, make sure to rise up as always. Peace.